This conference
chapter,
will now be recorded.
which is on Ana and Fana. So before we do that, let's hear the recording of our beloved Maulana Hazimam's Mubarak Farman, which we heard last time, and it's on Baitul Khayal. And we remember from some of the points from Imam's a very important Farman. And indeed, all the Farmans of the Imam is like a pearls and rubies. And in this particular Farman, Imam talked about and emphasized on balancing our both spiritual and worldly lives. And Imam gave the example of a group of Akhwanus Safa. And Imam mentioned that the mistake of this group was that they were more inclined toward their spiritual life, and they lose to keep the balance between spiritual and secular life. And the point we learned that Imam emphasized on balancing our both lives, because that is a condition, one of the conditions of spiritual progress, and there are many other conditions which we learned from our Ismaili literature. So let us hear the rest of the Farman. So please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
But if you wish to improve your spiritual understanding, to get some light, some real spiritual happiness, then you must not do so at the expense of fulfilling your worldly responsibilities. Therefore, in the cycle of 24 hours, we take 1 hour which we devote in concentration, in seeking to improve ourselves spiritually, to get a better understanding of the meaning of this life and the life after this one. How do you achieve this better understanding? I explained how the Ikhwan Safa tried to achieve this. Our Jamaat says no. When you sit in Bangi, you must concentrate upon the bowl. And it is the bowl which must help you elevate yourselves spiritually. This is not a difficult matter, but I wish to explain it to you in detail. The bowl he who is above all else. You imagine this world, he is above this world. You imagine this universe, he is above this universe. You imagine strength, he is more powerful than anything you can imagine. It is to him that you must seek to come spiritually by concentrating on the ball. It is to him through the Nur of Imamat that you must seek to come close to he who is above all else. When you sit in Bangi, do not think that you necessarily, by right, will receive this happiness and this light and this understanding. It is not a right of yours because you are sitting in Bangi. It is something which is given to you. It is not something which you can take. But once you have had this understanding, once you have had this light, it will become like a physical possession. It will be like your knowledge that the sun rises in the morning and sets at night. And it will give you a happiness and an understanding which, if you seek to explain it to other spiritual children, they will say, we do not understand, we do not follow, we do not think this is possible. That is, those spiritual children who have not sat in Bangi and have not had this happiness, this light, this elevation. If you seek to explain your experience to spiritual children who had the same experience, there is no reason to explain it because they will have had the same experience as yourselves. This then is the meaning of Baitul Khyan. This is the meaning of sitting in Bangi, of sitting in Ibadah. It is something which certain members of the Jamaat have done for centuries. Those who have received this understanding, this light, it has made them strong in the face of worldly difficulties. It has made them humble in the face of worldly successes. And I warn my Jamaat, particularly those who are now in Baitul Khyan, do not think that if you have worldly successes, they are due only to your ability. This you must be careful to avoid. This then is the Farman about Baitul Khyan. I want you to treat this matter seriously. When you sit in Bangi, try and eliminate all worldly worries and try just to concentrate on the board. Seek to open your heart. Seek to come close to He who is above all else. The ball I have given you is, I hope and I pray that once in your lifetimes, each one of you, you should have real understanding in Bangi. I pray that it may make you strong in your Iman, that it may keep you humble in your worldly successes, that it may make you strong in facing worldly difficulties, and that it will keep a proper balance in your lives between what is worldly and what is spiritual. I give lastly to each and every one of you my special love and blessings. Come. There is one last matter I want my spiritual children to remember. Most of you here in Baitul Khyan are young. This is an excellent thing. But remember that though you are young, though you may have 40, 50, inshallah 70, 80, 90 years to live, your lives are short. Your lives are very short. And when you leave this world, nothing goes with you, neither material nor physical. Only your soul remains. And your soul is eternal, as is your life hereafter. Do not forget this. And as you grow up, do not forget your religious duties, your prayer, and for those of you who have come into Baitul Khyan to sit in Bangi regularly, prepare yourselves not only to make a success of this worldly life, but also for the life which is eternal after this one. Do not forget. I give once again to each and every one of you special blessings. Come. To those spiritual children who have forgotten the board, or who have forgotten the naqsh which they had, you are to take the ball I have given you today. If you forget the ball again, I will consider that you do not wish or you are not able to receive this spiritual understanding, and I will not take you in Baitul Kya again. I will not take you in Baitul Kya again if you forget a second time the ball that has been given. You can translate that. I ask Muslim customary, but remember, this is an important matter. It is a very important matter. Do not treat it lightly. Come now. Come now.
Please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. A very powerful farman about the eternity of our life and some of the important points, as Mola mentioned, that that spiritual experience which we will have by the grace of Mola, and we all yearn for to experience the light of Imam, the nur of Imam, the luminosity of Imam in our once in our lifetime, and that's our yearning for that Haqiqi didar, and that's what this book we are reading. And the Imam mentioned that that experience is and that light is very sublime. And in addition to that, Imam also explained that we should be humble and this sit in bandagi with humility, and all the worldly success we have, it's due to Allah's rahmat, Imam's mercy. And another point is Imam mentioned that when we sit in bandagi, we eliminate all the worldly thoughts and we focus on our Isme Azam. And of course, during the daytime, more we engage in zikr and tasbih and in knowledge that will reflect in the ibadat of and bandagi from 4 to 5. So as much we engage, that would be beneficial for each one of us that we continue to do, and that's how we enhance our experience. And of course, there are many points when we read Imam's Farman, we find many layers of meanings. And when you will read in your leisure time, you will find more points and more points of wisdom. So may Mola help all of us to achieve this goal, to experience, and that our hearts and our souls be touched by Imam's light. So let's come to our chapter. So in this chapter, which we are going to talk about Ana and Fana. And so I would ask humbly the volunteer to please come forward to read. And I would request to please read the three paragraphs only. And after you finish reading 3 paragraphs, then please stop, and then we will discuss some of the important points.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are reading the book True Vision, chapter Ana and Fana, page number 21. At the end of the attractive and pleasing subject of true vision, it is appropriate to explain some realities of Ana, I, and Fana, annihilation. Because the most useful result of the blessed and sacred vision of the spiritual or real beloved is that the I or ego of the true lover should be effaced and annihilated in his reality. And this supreme bliss is attained by a wise Momin only if he or she takes the complete help of knowledge and good deeds. The subject of Ana and Fana has many aspects, therefore a lot can be written about it. However, keeping in view the facility and interest of readers, We want to present that aspect of the subject in which abstruse and difficult terms are not involved. Thus, ana in Arabic means I or ego, which is indicated by saying I, and fana in Arabic means to efface and annihilate this ana, according to the special rules of religion, so that the Momin may get rid of every kind of defect and shortcoming and merge in companion on high, Rafiqi Ala. The lower I of man can be annihilated only when enraptured in true love. He succeeds in offering sacrifices of body, soul, and intellect for the sake of the completion of religious goals, because the lower I subsists on human existence, which consists of these three things, and hence, in this respect, sacrifice and annihilation is of three kinds: physical, spiritual, and intellectual.
Thank you. So in this one, if we look at the word itself, ana and fana, ana refers to I or the ego, and fana and annihilation. Some of the key points, if you look at this word I itself or ego, so here Allama Sahib explained that first of all, some of the key elements for spiritual progress as or to reach at the level of fana, annihilation in Imam. It's through the help of knowledge and action, knowledge and good deeds. So these two elements are very, very significant. And therefore, if we study the Mubarak Farmans of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah, the Usul-e-Din Farman, and I'm sure that in this Ilmi sessions, Ahmed Saiba has explained about this Farman of Usul-e-Din. And in that particular Farman, we will find these two elements of knowledge and action. So in addition to that, there is one another Farman in which Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah said, and I'm just paraphrasing this Farman, and Imam said that ki ilm wali ru zina bazina upar chadti hai. Imam said that soul which has knowledge, that soul progress step by step in spirituality. So these two elements are very important, and Allama Sahib gave the example of the bird, that the bird can fly with two wings. So similarly, the soul is an example of a bird, that a bird can fly with two wings, and those two wings are knowledge and action, ilm, Haqiqi ilm, and zikr and ibadat. And of course, there are many other elements as we know, and if we study the book Pir Pandyati Jawan Mardi, in Pir Pandyati Jawan Mardi we find what should be a true Momin, what are some of his qualities, some of his virtues should be, and what are some of the vices he should stay away from. So in that book we find all those thoughts, and Allama Sahib said this book Pir Pandyati Jawan Mardi is like a mirror for a murid. It's a mirror for a true Momin, that as we see ourselves in the mirror, just for our physical appearance, how we look physically. So similarly, for our spiritual upliftment, for our spiritual appearance or spiritual and intellectual beauty, we can evaluate and we can judge ourselves through reading, through gaining Haqiqati knowledge, and through other ways also. And then in the next paragraph, we find this that the ana is actually it's an Arabic word, means I or ego, which is indicated by saying I, and fana in Arabic means to efface and annihilate this ana according to the special rules of religion. So that the main objective is to ego refers to our nafs or our carnal soul or our bad desires, or we will say to our defects in our spiritual and intellectual lives, or we can say in our worldly lives. So how we can correct those and come to that level of fana. So in order for us to come to that level of fana, we have to fulfill some conditions, right? So similarly, like for a student to get a degree in college or to be successful in the career, a student has to fulfill all the requirements, right? So similarly, we are a student in this spiritual, in this physical life. We are in a spiritual journey, and we are learning in our entire life. As Imam Sutamusha gave this example, that we are as a student. So ultimately, to reach at the higher level, and which is to come close to or to be merged in Rafiqi Ala, and that is companionship in high. And if we can recall that from the last prayers of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that in that particular prayer, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, "O Lord, merge me with my my Rafiqi Ala," and that the prayer is something, Allahumma khfirli warhamni walhikni bi Rafiqi Ala. And Allama Sahib, in his book Manifestations of Wisdom, in wisdom number 9, he wrote that if man wants to progress infinitely, it is possible on such a wisdom-filled circle where on the whole temporary hardship is nominal and permanent. Comfort and permanent comfort is abundant. Man is a prodigious being who has two eyes, one to live in paradise and the other to come to and return from this world. In this connection, God says in a sacred hadith, "Man is my secret and I am his secret." And the Holy Prophet has called the higher I, companion on high, Rafiqi Ala. The hadith is, "O Allah, forgive me, have mercy on me, and join me to the companion on high." So this is from the reference of hadith as we see here. So, so we have two eyes, which Allama Sahib explained that anai sifli, which is lower eye, and one is anai ulvi, which is the higher eye. And that explanation will come furthermore as we will go to the next paragraph. And we can also highlight that Imam Sultan Moshe also mentioned in his book Memoirs of Aga Khan. We also find this this prayer also in this very important book of our beloved Imam Sultan Moshe alayhi salam. So we can go to the third paragraph, and in this one, as we learn that the lower eye of man can be annihilated only when enraptured in a true love. So true love is required, and then the other condition is sacrifice. Sacrifice at what level? Sacrifice physically, spiritually, and intellectually. At these three levels, we have to give sacrifice, we have to give kurbani. So what is the sacrifice, how we sacrifice physically, spiritually, and intellectually? So we will learn in the next, in next 3 paragraphs. So after we read the next 3 paragraphs, then we will stop and then we will reflect and discuss further that how this fana is related and the sacrifice is related in a physical, spiritual, and intellectual sense. Yes, Saiba, if you can please.
If a true Momin always strengthens religion through his physical services without any show or ostentation, his lower I and egoism come to an end or become weak. Similarly, the lower I can be effaced and sacrificed by worship, ibadat, spiritual exercises, remembrance, reflection, and shedding of tears in true love, and this is through the soul. The same purpose can also be achieved through sincere intellectual sacrifices, that is, serving the nation and the community with mind and intellect and considering oneself humble and insignificant. Thus, these three kinds of sacrifices result in effacement of the lower I and revival in the communal and universal soul. One great and special mercy among the abounded divine mercies which are available in Islam is that the lower I can be effaced and annihilated with unselfish monetary sacrifices also, like those of the above mentioned sacrifices. It is so important because of the fact that contrary to it, the desire for the plenitude of wealth, parsimony, and avarice cause many vices, such as self-conceit, egoism, selfishness, worldliness, voluptuousness, disobedience, which stop the growth of any zeal for altruism, sacrifice, effacement, and annihilation. Thus, the prevention of these spiritual diseases and their cure are possible only through monetary sacrifices. The Holy Quran says, quote,
Yes, if you can please stop here.
oh,
Thank you.
okay, sure.
So in this one, in these three paragraphs, before we go to the next paragraph, let's try to understand this. The I, the lower I, and the higher I. So there are two terms. Anai sifli means like a lower I, or we can say that in the lower I, which is within our in our physical body itself, right? And the higher I, which is anai ulvi. Anai ulvi, it's to our origin, we can say. So Allama Sahib gave this example of the sun rays, the rays of the sun, or we can say that if you look at one ray of the sun, one ray is coming on Earth, and the other ray is connected in the sun itself. So we can try to understand at this level that our lower I, it's in this physical world, in our human body, and then higher I, or the anai ulvi, is connected in the sun, or connected to the origin, connected to the divine. So with that example of the sun and the sun ray, we can try to relate this example. That will be easier to remember and to understand this concept of anai sifli and anai ulvi. So in this particular paragraph, we learned about physical, spiritual, and intellectual sacrifice. So spiritual sacrifice is when we engage in zikr and girya huzari, shed tears in the remembrance of Ali Allah, in the remembrance of Imam and Imam's love and affection. And intellectual sacrifice is, when we take time out to, to read and to engage and spend as much as time we can in acquiring Haqiqati knowledge and to help others to understand this true knowledge. So that is the example of our sacrifice. And physical sacrifice is, when when our entire body is engaged in doing that, physically doing that exercise of getting that knowledge, thinking, reflecting, and going to Jamaat Khana, and to wake up early for our ibadat. So that is an example of our physical sacrifice. And if we look at the word, because there is an important word here, Giri, and as you may know that, and you have learned this, that Girya Huzari is a compound word, and it's a Persian word. And Girya means to shed tears, and Zari means to consider oneself very weak and very humble and very feeble. So that is the intention we have when we seek knowledge with utmost humility and with Girya Huzari and with love and affection for the Imam, because these are the elements that help us to yearn for the didar. Right? It should not be like a formality, but it should be with utmost affection and love and with true knowledge. And therefore, some of the as we see, some of the spiritual diseases are mentioned here, like egotism and selfishness. So how one can overcome these spiritual diseases, right? It's through monetary satisfaction, as Allama Sahib wrote that, these spiritual diseases and their cure are possibly only through monetary sacrifice, and through the sacrifice, through Qurbani, we can able to overcome some of our weaknesses. And of course, we all reflect that, what we can improve not only in our physical life, but also what we can improve spiritually and intellectually. And as we improve more, we come close to our destination. So these are some of the points. And now the next one, which we will learn, it's a very important Quranic verse, and it's about the face of Allah. And remember, it was very interesting that, last time I asked this question, and I was recalling where is this reference about this face of Allah. And Naveen Sahib gave this reference 28/88. And then after that Ilmi session, I was reading this chapter, and I said, oh, the reference is right here. So more we take notes. My humble submission is, keep a notebook and, write down references and try to memorize at least one reference every day. So if you continue this habit, then, you will memorize so many key references. And so that's how we can further enhance our Quranic knowledge. And as Maulana Hazimam said, that it will take years of study to study the Quran. So let's go to the next 3 paragraphs.
The Holy Quran says, quote, everything is perishable save his face. His is the authority, and to him you shall all return. Unquote. Surah 28, Ayat 88. According to the wise people, this wisdom-filled verse means that a Momin can only become revived in his origin, namely the higher I, Anai Ulvi, and have the divine vision of the face of God if everything of his existence is annihilated either by willing annihilation or unwilling annihilation, that is death. Otherwise, everything, such as body, soul, and intellect, which is not purified and dissolved, becomes a veil in front of him. Therefore, it is said, quote, die spiritually before physical death, so that by voluntary annihilation you may merge in God. According to Sufis, there are 3 levels of effacement and annihilation, which are Fana fi Shaykh, annihilation in the Shaykh, Fana fir Rasul, annihilation in the Prophet, and Fana fi Allah, annihilation in God. This concept is very pleasing according to the people of Haqiqat also. However, there is a fundamental difference that the pure Shaykh in whom the Momin should annihilate himself is only and only the Imam of the time, as the verse of obedience, Surah 4, Ayat 59 commands, quote, O you who believe, obey God and obey the messenger and the ulil amra from among you, unquote. In this command of obedience, there is a clear logical indication to love them and to annihilate in them step by step, because annihilation is the corollary of love, and love that of obedience.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah. So in this one, this very important Quranic reference which we have, that everything is perishable save his face, and which is a reference from Surah number 28, ayat 88. So I was looking at in some of the books of Allama Sahib, he had explained this particular verse, its inner meaning, and I find it very interesting, and I would like to share. So let me just bring that. And as we discussed last time, that Maula Ali said that I'm the face of Allah on the earth and the heaven, as Maula Ali said. So this particular one, if we can read this one, it's connected with numbers, and how we can understand this point of face of Allah, because it has many dimensions and in many layers of meaning. One is with also mono-reality, and also indeed Imam is the face of Allah, and Imam is always present. So his continuity of his light is also connected to this inner meaning of this verse, that he is always present, the Imam is always present on earth. So this one, Mumtaz Saiba, if you can read this, the Pearl of Marifat, this one, here we would like to give an example of numerical logic 2. So in this one, Allama Sahib gave the example of numbers, that how numbers are connected, and the unity of number is there. So you would understand, you will find one additional perspective, or the inner meaning and the esoteric meaning of this particular verse. So let's read this one.
Here we would like to give an example of the numerical logic 2, that in the number 1000 there are 3 ciphers and one number 1. The wisdom underlying this is that the numbers up to the 1000, having been annihilated from their own form, have become one with the number 1000, for the cipher symbolizes annihilation. That is to say that the world of numbers first annihilates in 10, then in 100, then in 1000, and so on. Each time only the essence of one is left. This is the tawil of everything is perishable except his face. Surah 28, Ayat 88. And it is monorealism that the unity of all is the unity of one, and the unity of one is the unity of all. The cipher depends on one, and without which it alone is nothing. That is to say, if it is separated from one, then it has no value at all. As Baba Sayyidina says, Zahar kam taram, garbitu basham, za gardun bartaram, gar batu basham.
Basham, yes.
Basham. That is, I am less than nothing if I am without you. I am higher than heaven if I am with you. That is to say that the example of monorealism is also evident from the laws of numbers, as in decimal numbers such as 10, 100, and 1000, all other numbers become annihilated and disappear, and thus their unity becomes the unity of one, and the unity of one becomes the unity of all.
Yes. So that is a very good example to, remember this, numbers. We all are dealing with numbers all the time, our bills and so many other things, financials are connected with numbers. So as we learned from this example, how all the numbers are, they are starting from 1, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then how all the numbers, going from the higher number, like, from 100, and then it's going back to 1,000, going back to 100, and 100 going back to 10, and then going all the way back to 1. So the unity of 1, it's how it's connected to this idea of this notion of face of Allah. So that is one additional perspective here. And in this one, if you can see the rubies and pearls right here on 40, in this one, as Hazrat Ali said, that I am Wajullah, I am the face of Allah in the heavens and the earth, and everything is perishable. So in this particular paragraph, Allama Sahib gave this example of excellence, that we start from minerals, like minerals annihilate into vegetables, and when animals consume the vegetables, so the vegetables are annihilated into the animal kingdom, and when human beings consume and take and eat the lawful animals, they are annihilated into the human kingdom. So this annihilation is starting from mineral to vegetative kingdom, and from vegetative kingdom to the animal kingdom, and then the human kingdom, and then within the a human being, one human being who is superior, who is Insani Kamil, who is the Imam, we all merge and annihilate ourselves into the Imam, because he is at the higher level, because he has Ruhul Qudus, he has sacred soul. So this is this principle of excellence which Hakim P. Nasir Khusro gave, and that's how Allama Sahib gave this example of from the Quran, the face of Allah, or Wajhullah. So that would be another meaning of it. So now we come to this this next point right here, which is about this very important this hadith, and it is said in the hadith that bring this hadith right here. It is said, die spiritually before physical death. And Prophet said, "Mutu qabla an tamutu, marne se pehle maro." So there are two types of death, right? As we know, voluntary death, and then one is compulsory death. So this is die before, where it's saying die spiritually before your physical death. So this is a voluntary death. Voluntarily we die. And if we study the firmans of Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah said that which I'm paraphrasing, Imam said that try to take your soul out for an hour, so your soul can take a journey of the spiritual world, to experience the spiritual world. So to taking our soul partially out from our body through ibadat, through bandagi, that is one example of this voluntary death. And there is many esoteric meanings are connected with this hadith of mutu qabla an tamutu, because for a arif that is a completely different experience, right? So we are talking in reference to how we can experience at our level, and that is one aspect which Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah explained. And we know many examples, like example of Bhagat Karadura, that when he used to sit in bandagi, he was able to partially take out his soul from his body. So that is, so when we experience this, and and we pray for that we have some level of experience of this voluntary death, And through this voluntary death, then one is not afraid of or fearful of compulsory physical death. Right? And as it's in the Quran, if you study Book of Healing, you will find this Quranic verse that every day Israel partially sees your soul, and when it's time for you to come back, and when we wake up, and if our time is not completed in this physical world, then he puts the soul back into our body, and that's how we are alive in the next day. So this is what is spiritual mechanism we find in the Quran, and you will find this Quranic verse in that chapter in Book of Healing. And that is the point about this particular hadith. And then the next one is about, in Sufism, we find these 3 levels of annihilation, which are Fanafil Sheikh, annihilation in the Sheikh, and Fanafil Rasul, annihilation in the Prophet, and Fanafil annihilation in God. And Fanafil Sheikh refers to annihilation in Imam of the time. And here we use some of the Sufi examples, because Sufism is kind of close to Ismailism, because they are just one level back. So after Shariat there is a tariqat, and then so that would be just example we find in Imam Sutamasha, that we read Sufism, because in Sufism we find the example of spirituality. But indeed we are at the level of Haqiqat, and we are at the higher level than the Sufis. And Allama Sahib wrote that so the true Sheikh is the true Murshid, is Imam of the time, and his obedience is compulsory and obligatory for all of us. And as in the Quran, we find that Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul, obedience to Allah, obedience to the Prophet, and obedience to the Ulil Amr, those who are in possessor of the command. So let's go to the next two paragraphs.
The purport of verses Surah 55, Ayah 26 to 28, in which annihilation is mentioned, is that annihilation of everything on earth and the ever abiding of the face of the Lord, who is full of majesty and honor, is his greatest favor for both jinn and mankind. This shows that the annihilation of one's ego or lower I by effacing it with humility and reviving and abiding eternally in the real beloved is the greatest bounty. Hazrat Maulana Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullahi alayhi in his memoirs has mentioned love, effacement, self-forgetting, and annihilation succinctly, but extremely comprehensively, meaningfully, and in a wisdom-filled way. If one reflects in the light of this blessed and sacred guidance of the Imam, he or she can come to know the great secrets of the purpose of life and the indication of the final destination.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. So in this paragraph, the Quranic verse which we have, so it has a similar idea of annihilation of everything on earth, and it's also talked about the face of God. And as we learned about these 2 terms, that Anai Sifli and Anai Ulvi, and as I mentioned that these 2 terms are lower I. So Anai Ulvi, we are at the level of Anai Ulvi, and then the Anai Sifli, which is the higher I. And Imam Sultan Shah alayhi salam's, the Farman, which in this particular book, which Imam wrote, of course, we find many points which Allama Sahib mentioned here in Imam's this particular book. But one which I would like to quote, which is related to how the subject, we are the subject, that we should merge into the object. That's the example Imam gave So I would like to conclude with this saying of Imam Sultan Masha alayhi salam. So let's just bring that particular one. In this one, if you can, Mumtaz Sahib, if you can just read two lines from up to here, life in ultimate till in the object. If you can just read this.
Sure. Life in the ultimate analysis has taught me one enduring lesson. The subject should always disappear in the object.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. So in this one, you know what, Imam gave this example, right? And this is for us to learn and to put into practice, that we as a subject, right, and the Imam is the object, and we merge into his light, and that's what we all yearn for. And this particular book, I hope that it has inspired all of us to read more and to yearn for Imams Zahiri, Batini, and Nurani Didar, the luminous Didar, and Didar in astral body. That is another experience. Didar in Nurani Batan, right, in the luminous body. And when I was reading this book, True Vision, I thought that there would be more to explain, and more to learn, and more we will read again and again. We will find more points, and not only for this book, but any other book of our Dai or Peer, or the book of our Imams Farmans. When we read that, we find Imams help and spiritual ta'eed and tawfiq. And with that, this historical point, because it's connected to Didar, when Allama Sahib went to France, and I couldn't recall the year right now, so he had this opportunity to get to Imam's gate in Eglimont, and Allama Sahib offered prostration in front of Imam's palace in Eglimont. So at that time, the guards opened the door for Allama Sahib. So as you know, that guards are not allowed to open door for anyone, right? Because of the strict security in a physical sense. But it was Imam's mercy that guards opened the door for Allama Sahib, and this is we need to experience, and that light and that key is it's within us, as Allama Sahib said in his British Ki Ginan. He wrote that, O Mawla, when you will open the gate of treasure for me, so I can experience your spirituality and experience your nur, your light. And then Mawla said that I have already given you the key of treasure. Why you are late in opening that gate, that door? Because I have already given you the key. So the key which we have, it's in the form of Ismi Azam, in form of Askar, the zikr we have, in form of true knowledge, Haqiqati knowledge, which we have in the books of our Peers and Dais. So we are very fortunate, and we all pray that may Mawla bless all of us with his Zahiri Batini and Nurani Didar. And it was really a beautiful experience for myself to learn a lot from this particular book, and I'm sure that it will be a learning experience for all of you. And inshallah, with Allah's mercy, we can try to further read any other book some other time. Thank you, everyone. And with Mawla's blessing and everyone's prayers, I was able to finish this book. So thank you, and Yalimatar.
Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. It is beautiful. It is so difficult to get to Mawla's physical door, but indeed it does give us that joy and happiness that Mawla has blessed us with the smiley religion, and Mawla has blessed us much more by giving us the Isme Azam. So it is us who are delaying the process. And as beautifully Allama Sahib actually mentioned in this book, and you explained it very well about the stages of annihilation, and the beautiful point directly connects to the obedience. So without the obedience, fana is impossible. So inshallah, may Mawla give us tawfiq and ta'eed with your help of understanding this beautiful concept of annihilation, and we understand the importance of um, obedience, inshallah. And as we read in our dua every single day 3 times, Surah 4 and verse 59. So subhanallah, subhanallah, wonderful explanation. A friend is asking, yes, we will share the Farman's audio. And which year Farman is it? Do you know?
It's 1966.
Okay. 1966. Subhanallah, subhanallah. So we have one question in the chat. If you can talk more about monetary sacrifice, is it to give it to the poor or donate to charity?
Sacrifice. So it is actually, as Allama Sahib mentioned, right? So it's at the physical level, a physical, spiritual, and intellectual. So that would be, a good deed to do, like, our Nazrana in terms of time, knowledge, and material resources. So that is also good, but we have to get to the next level. Right? We should not limit ourselves to only at the physical level, but also at the spiritual sacrifice is also very important, and then intellectual, because there are levels, right? There are spiritual, physical, spiritual, intellectual. So one should not limit at one level, only physical level. We should move at spiritual and intellectual level also. So that is also, important for our spiritual progress. So point I'm trying to make is not to ignore spiritual and intellectual sacrifice.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. While you were actually talking about it, I was just looking on the online about the definition for monetary sacrifice. And I wonder, I had never read this before. It says that, giving that hurts, going without something that we want or we need in order to supply for the needs of others. So sacrifice is way beyond that. We, with our limited thinking at times, think of charity or philanthropy activities. It is much more than we can ever imagine. And I think Mawla gives us the beautiful example of all of the sacrifices, the way Mawla is given. In the first Farman of Maulana Hazir Imam, he says that I will do everything possible for betterment of the Smiley Jamaat. So, we need to spread our understanding of sacrifice, which is much more deeper. So,
yes.
Yeah, shukr ma, shukr. Thank you for bringing that aspect of spiritual and intellectual sacrifices as well. Subhanallah, subhanallah. Friends, if you have any other question, any comments, please do come forward.
Yes, Maulana Mehta. Seems like her line dropped.
Line dropped, yeah.
Yes.
While she joins again, if any other friends have any questions, any comments you would like to make.
Yes, Gulzar Saiba, go ahead.
याली मदद सर सॉरी
Yes, Maulana Mehta.
सर आपने वो जो लास्ट में मेमोइर्स ऑफ आगा खान का जो समझा मतलब बताया ना वो एक बार वापस से वो स्क्रीन पे बताइए ना और जो मुझे ना उसका गुजराती का सेम है क्या जो मुझे पता है કે આપણી હસ્તી અલ્લાહમાં છે અને આપણે અલ્લાહમાં હરીએ છીએ અને ફરીએ છીએ जो मैं पैराफ्रेज कर रही मेरे को एग्जैक्ट याद नहीं है लेकिन अगर ये लाइन को हम समझ लेंगे तो આપણે તો આપણે અસલમાં વાસલ થવાના મકસદને પામી લઈએ.
Okay.
गुजराती में ऐसा कुछ है वो.
Yes, yeah. So गुलजार आपने जो बताया वो असल में आपने वो दूसरा जो है वो पॉइंट उसमें बताया कि इसमें मौलाना ने फरमाया कि we live, move and have our being in God. तो वो दूसरा पॉइंट है कि हम जो है वो खुदा में रहते हैं, उसमें हरकत करते हैं. लेकिन ये दूसरा पॉइंट है. इसके अंदर क्या है कि life in the ultimate analysis has taught me one enduring lesson. The subject should always disappear in the object. कि मौला ने फरमाया कि जिंदगी से मुझे जो है वो एक मैंने सबक सीखा है, वो ये है कि सब्जेक्ट जो है वो हमेशा ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर अपने आप को फना कर दे. तो ये असल में लेसन हमारे सीखने के लिए है, इमाम के लिए नहीं है. वो तो चीज से बियॉन्ड है. इमाम हमें ये सिखा रहे हैं कि हमें, चूंकि हम अब सब्जेक्ट है और ऑब्जेक्ट जो है वो इमाम की हस्ती है, तो हमें जो है वो उसके इमाम की हस्ती के अंदर फना होना है. और फना होने की जो कंडीशन ये है कि हमें इमाम से पूरी कंप्लीट लॉयल्टी, ओबीडियंस और अपनी फरमान बरदारी और जो बैयत हमने की है, तो पूरी जिंदगी जो है वो हम उस लॉयल्टी में इमाम के साथ रहते हैं, उस ओबीडियंस के साथ रहते हैं और अपनी मोहब्बत और अपना इश्क इमाम को पेश करते हैं. और उसके लिए ये सारी हमारी कोशिशें हैं, राइट, कि हम हकीकी इल्म को हासिल करते हैं. During the daytime we engage in zikr, and in the time of dua we go to Jamaat Khana and we fulfill our duties, which is obligatory for us. And then in addition to that, we do nawafil ibadat, additional ibadat, additional zikr. Because through additional zikr, we gain quick progress. क्योंकि हम देखें कि एक जो है वो बादशाह है, बादशाह की हम एग्जाम्पल लें तो टैक्स जो है वो सब देते हैं बादशाह को. बादशाह को जो है वो हर कोई टैक्स दे रहा है, तो वो जो है वो बादशाह की नजर में वो लोग आएंगे जो बादशाह के लिए एडिशनल काम करते हैं, यानी एक्स्ट्रा काम करते हैं. तो हमारी स्पिरिचुअल प्रोग्रेस जो है वो ज्यादा मतलब कि जो है वो क्विकली हो सकती है कि अगर हम ऑब्लिगेटरी जो भी हमारे ऊपर है, दुआ दसून इबादत जो हमारे पर ऑब्लिगेटरी है वो तो हम कर ही रहे हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ हम एडिशनल प्रेयर्स भी करें और एक्स्ट्रा काम करें, एक्स्ट्रा स्पिरिचुअल एफर्ट्स लगाएं, तो उससे हम इमाम के और करीब आ सकते हैं और उसमें मर्ज हो सकते हैं, उसमें फना हो सकते हैं. तो ये वाला जो है वो पैराग्राफ है जो मैंने आज कोट किया था.
और ये जो सब्जेक्ट और ऑब्जेक्ट का जो याली बापा मतलब इमाम सल्लल्लाहु जो समझा है अपने को, उसका एक प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल दो ना सर, दुनियावी एग्जांपल देके, मतलब कि सब्जेक्ट में ऑब्जेक्ट कैसे, मतलब सब्जेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट में कैसा मर्ज होता.
तो उसकी जो है वो दुनियावी एग्जाम्पल हम इस तरह से हम ले सकते हैं कि जिस तरह से एक दरिया है, राइट, तो दरिया सब्जेक्ट की मिसाल हो गया और ऑब्जेक्ट जो है वो समंदर है, कि मेन जो पानी का सोर्स है उसके अंदर जो है वो दरिया उसके अंदर मर्ज हो गया. तो हम अगर दरिया की मिसाल है और इमाम वो समंदर है तो वो ऑब्जेक्ट है, तो वो एक मिसाल जो है वो ये हो गई. इस तरह से भी हम उसको समझ सकते हैं.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू.
और भी बहुत सारी एग्जांपल्स हो सकती है. शुक्र मौला.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Friends, if you have any other questions, any comments, please unmute and come forward. I think it is wonderful to come to a point that, you know, we can say that with your help, we actually were able to complete one of the book and the explanation and understanding. So we truly appreciate your time. You know, gave us time and explained all of the chapters, and it was amazing to listen to all of these things in a way that a momin salik who follows the path and gives the due sacrifices, stays in obedience, can reach the destination very quickly, inshallah. So we truly appreciate your time, you coming forward and giving us your time and knowledge to be shared with us. Shukr alhamdulillah, shukr alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Riyaz Sahib. We look forward to continuing this session. Ya Ali Madad. Ya Ali
Yeah,
Madad.
thank you, Naveen Saiba, and everyone, all the friends. Yeah, limited.
Sir, I want
Yeah,
to say
Madad.
something. One comment, sir.
Yes.
Sir, today, every time I think of, so many Quran Sharif ayats and so many references, so I always thought that how you remember, or Naveen Saiba, and you all remember all this, but today you gave a nice, clue that if you make it a, habit of remembering one reference per day, you can remember so many. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for
No,
that guidance. Shukran.
Shukr. Yeah, so, and I forgot to mention there's a one farman. So if I can maybe quickly read this farman. It's beside the salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, because it's related to didar, in which Maulana Hazimam said, आज शाम को जब हम रवाना होंगे तो हम चाहते हैं कि आप दो चीजें याद रखें। एक ये कि हम अपने दिल में आप में से हर एक की याद और आप में से हर एक की सूरत साथ ले जाएंगे। दूसरे ये कि हमारी मोहब्बत अपनी जमात के लिए इससे कहीं ज्यादा मजबूत है जो आपकी हमारे लिए कभी हो सकती है, और हम चाहते हैं कि आप इस बात को याद रखें। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम मुहम्मद व आलि। So with that,
A beautiful comment for you, Riyaz Sahib. So I'm just going to read it. That friend says, I really appreciate the variety of references you bring, especially the current Imam's words, as well as your own soulful zikr. So,
shukran.
shukran Allah. Thank you for doing that for us. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Riyaz Sahib. Yali Madad, Yali Madad.
Yali Madad,
Ali Madad.
Mubarakbad, Yali
Ali
Madad.
Maulana Madad, Naimat Saiba, thank you so much.
Yali Madad, bye.
Yali Madad.
Yali Madad.
Maulana Madad, Yasmin.